one big piece of my journey is I'm a learner. And so I love to learn. I love to take in information. I love to read. I love to listen. I love to just hear from other people that are way smarter than me and try to understand what they're trying to say and be able to communicate that and teach that to those around me.
Welcome to the Agent Growth Lab podcast, the show that's all about taking control of your success. If you're a realtor, financial planner, business owner, or anyone who's ready to grow your business, you're in the right place. Join your host, April Russell, each week as she jumps into the lab to find out what professionals are doing to master their success. So let's get started with this week's episode of Agent Growth Lab podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the next episode of the Agent Growth Lab podcast. I am your host, April Russell, and joining me today is Glen Clemmons of Umstead and Oak, powered by KW Raleigh. Welcome, Glen. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, April. I'm excited about it.
Thank you. I'm excited to have you as well. So I'm going to just tell them briefly how I know you, Glen, and then, of course, I want you to tell more about yourself. But I actually work with Glen's sister, and she's absolutely phenomenal. I absolutely love her. And that's actually how I met Glen, is through his sister. So Glen, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been a real estate agent since April of 2018. And I just joined KW this year, which we're really excited about. But I was at a small independent brokerage was one of the first 5 agents, and I got a lot of one-on-one coaching with the broker owner, which I think catapulted my business when I first started. And a lot of my sphere was just buying their first homes, and I started doing monthly home buyer seminars every single month, faithfully, just calling my sphere, trying to get people to the seminar. I'd have pizza and drinks, and I partnered with a lender that would educate on the mortgage side. And I think that's what really catapulted my business when I first started, was just education. I come from that was my major at NC State, was math education. And so, go Pack. And so that is definitely one of my gifts, is being able to teach, being able to take information and be able to communicate it effectively. And I think that's what stands me apart from a lot of other agents, is I take the time to educate my clients. And I'm really passionate about it. And I've been doing that for 6 years. And so I have a small team. I have a business partner now, Stephen Squires, with Umstead and Oak, and we have a showing partner. We have a part-time employee, and then we have a virtual assistant as well. So we're small and mighty, but we're looking to grow. We're looking to add some more agents this year, and some more employees as well. So
Absolutely. That's awesome. And the growth that you've experienced since 2018, that is phenomenal. Having a team now, a virtual assistant, a showing agent, like that's phenomenal. So I'm excited about the growth for you. But you know what really stood out for me with what you said, of course, and we of course know education is key, but it's always about bringing something of value.
Absolutely.
And that is what you're having seminars and things like that. That's what it's doing. It's actually bringing something of value to people and something that they can actually use. So I love that you do those first-time homebuyer seminars. And of course, we all know over the next few years or so, most of our buyers, the bulk of buyers, will be first-timers. That's ultimately where it is. And there's so many nuances to purchasing a home. So it's really great that you do those seminars and really educate people about the process. I love that.
Yeah.
So tell me more about what you do to stay up to date. Like, how are you continuously learning about real estate, the market, and things like that? Give us some tips and things that you do.
Yeah, I mean, I listen to a podcast almost daily. I have one for each day that during different seasons, these are the ones that I want to listen to. A lot of them are business focused, entrepreneurship focused, real estate focused, and family focused. And so one big piece of my journey is I'm a learner. And so I love to learn. I love to take in information. I love to read. I love to listen. I love to just hear from other people that are way smarter than me and try to understand what they're trying to say and be able to communicate that and teach that to those around me. So that's been a huge passion of mine, is be a learner, right? Just always ask questions. If you're in a mastermind with me, or if you ever meet me for the first time, I just pepper people with questions because I'm genuinely interested in what their experiences and what they know, and I try to dive as deep as possible when I'm learning something. And so that would be my advice for agents: is be a learner, be a student of the market. Learn from people who have been doing it for a really long time. I've always had a coach, somebody who's a little bit farther ahead than me, to tell me what to do, to give me advice, to bounce ideas off of. And so, yeah, be a student, be a learner. There's so much information out there, and you can just get it if you meet the right people and ask the right questions. So yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. And I did a speech not too long ago, and it's actually mentioned in my book, Growth Playbook, but I mentioned always be a student. That was
Yeah.
one of the tips that I actually gave, because at no point in time in life will we know everything that there is to know. So we
Yeah.
have to constantly be a student, and we have to constantly seek knowledge, and especially in the industry that we're in. If we want to be known as the experts in
Mhm.
real estate or mortgage or whatever it is, we've got to go out and seek that knowledge as well, because we need to be able to share it and
Absolutely.
share it with others. So I love that. And I love how you've been able to take your background and your degree in education and actually move it over to real estate. And you're still educating. It just may
Yep.
not necessarily be in what's considered a traditional classroom,
Right.
but you're still educating people about
Yeah.
something that we need. Homes,
Absolutely. We need
that's what I
homes.
say all the time. Like, we are not in sales. I know we
Right.
say we are, but ultimately we have a product that everyone needs,
Yeah.
right? So
Absolutely.
I don't have to feel pushy like I'm out here trying to sell somebody something that I
Yep.
probably wouldn't even buy, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, if we're door knocking or farming the neighborhood, whatever that is, I've got something that's going to be of value to you.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've done the door knocking, I've done the cold calls. I have found that when you can just give good, sound advice and information to people that is easily digestible and understandable, people are going to refer you. I mean, I am completely referral based for the past 6 years. And it's because I take the time to learn and be a student of the market and be able to educate and advise people based on their situation, right?
Right.
Um, the worst thing you can do is push somebody into a sale that's not ready, financially.
Yeah.
And so you got to take every single situation for what it's worth, and where they're at, and be able to tell them honestly what direction they should go. So,
Right.
yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, something that I do to kind of stay up to date with the market or what's going on around me is here locally. So, for those of our listeners out there, we're in the Triangle area, Raleigh, North Carolina. So, we have our Triangle Business Journal. And of course, the Business Journal is nationwide. But we have our Triangle Business Journal. But that's something that I utilize to actually stay up to date, because
Mhm.
it tells me, okay, this builder purchased how many ever acres from this developer. They're going to be building, 200 townhomes or whatever that looks like. Here's when they're expected to, be ready and all of that. So that's one of the things that I do to actually stay up to date. I do it every
Yeah.
single week. I send out what I call my 5 for Friday. Every Friday, I actually send it out to agents like, hey, here's some articles and information that you can actually use, that's
Yeah.
beneficial to you. And here's what's happening around you. But again, it's all about sharing information,
Yeah.
education.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah. Absolutely.
it's I think all roads lead to that. And even with you saying your business being referral based, mostly, of course, and how you interact with someone and how you're explaining things in a way that they can understand. And like you said, they will refer you. I've
Yeah.
had a buyer before that I could not assist. She was not ready at the time. Of course, I gave her the steps and all of that, but she actually sent me a gift card. She sent me a card to
Wow.
thank me, and she sent me a Starbucks gift card for me to have coffee. I
Wow.
didn't, she wasn't even going to buy. But
Yeah.
you know what else she did? She sent me a referral too.
That's awesome.
And that's what it's all about. It's all about connecting. And I know you guys are like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, she says that every podcast. I do say it every podcast because
Yeah.
it's really what it's about. It's truly about connecting with people and being a resource and bringing something of value that someone can actually use. I
Yeah.
cannot stress that enough. And it's not just that individual person, it's who they know.
Yeah.
Average
Yeah.
person knows 200 people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So we have to treat everyone
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
right?
I,
Because it's
I
not just
love
them.
I love that word you use is resource. Like that's what I tell my clients is use me as a resource. Whatever you need. What if you need a plumber, you want to sell your house, you want to buy an investment property, you want to start a business, whatever. Use me as a resource. And the reason I started with be a student is because I'm always trying to stay ahead of my audience. I'm always staying ahead of my clientele with market, entrepreneurship, investment properties, building wealth in general. Home ownership is the first step to building wealth for a lot of people. And so I'm always trying to stay ahead of, okay, if my clients are going to, if their home is going to appreciate 6% on average every single year, how can we leverage some of that equity to build more wealth, And so just always being a student, I truly believe, and I tell this all the time in consultations, numbers tell a story. And so I go through the market updates. I do the past 4 months, and then I do the past 4 years. And I go over days on market. I go over average sales price. I go over, percentage of list price to sold price. And I give them that data and it tells a story. You can literally see the ups and downs of the markets and even in the seasons that we have each year. And that just helps people because they hear things in the news and they have no idea. And so numbers tell the story. Know your numbers, I would say, too, is like know your numbers. So I study Wake County's, MLS data almost every single week. So I always want to know what those numbers are to be able to educate people.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys, again, thank you, Glenn. Thank you for
You're welcome.
joining us today. You all, Glenn dropped some really good nuggets, but I will tell you this main one that stood out for me, always be a student.
That's right.
Always be a student. So Glenn, thank you again for joining us. How can we reach you? So someone's listening right now. They're like, ooh, he said use him as a resource. Absolutely. How can we reach you?
Yeah, I mean, you can call me, you can email me, you can text me. Please text me because I get lots of spam calls first. But my phone number is 919-988-7646. And then my email is glen@umsteadandoak.com, or you can reach me at our website at umsteadandoak.com.
Awesome. Thank you again, Glenn, for joining us today.
Thanks
Once
for having
again,
me.
guys, I'm April Russell, Agent Growth Lab podcast host. Thanks for listening today, and we will see you next week.
See ya.
That's a wrap on today's episode of the Agent Growth Lab podcast. Huge thanks to our insightful guest and to you, our dedicated listeners. If you're committed to growing your business and achieving your full potential, don't forget to subscribe and check out all the episodes at www.agentgrowthlabpodcast.com. Thanks for joining your host, April Russell. We will see you next week in the lab for another dose of inspiration and actionable advice.